All right, hey folks. I'm starting a series where I read books. I've not read this book before. This is the first time I'm reading. I'm gonna read along with you guys, and I'll just share my thoughts along the way. I just read the foreword of this book and a little bit the first paragraph of the first chapter. Other than that, I know the crux of the book, and I know those ideas because I've heard Anand Ranganathan talk about these things. And I do support him in a sense that I do agree with him in a lot of things. So the book is Hindus in Hindu Rashtra, eighth class citizens and victims of state sanctioned apartheid. So let's see what he has to say. This is the contents. We have these are the 8 points that Anand Ranganathan talks about: state control of Hindu temples, injustice towards Kashmiri Hindus, the Waqf Act 1995, the RTE Act. I don't know what this is exactly about. Let's see. Legislations that appease non Hindus but target Hindus, celebrating those who killed and converted millions of Hindus. Places of Worship Act 1991. I don't know why this is repeated. Oh, yeah, that's because I think this is there was a hard copy book and they converted it to text. I do have a hard copy, so I'm just going to check what the last 2 points are. Okay, the sixth one is different. Judiciary that almost exclusively tries to reform Hinduism. That's the sixth one. All right, let's move forward. This is written by J.S.I. Deepak, as you saw on the cover. For far too long, independent India has not allowed the followers of its indigenous Bharatiya faith systems, the Hindus, the right to hold grievances, much less air them. After all, we are told Hindus are in the majority, so what possible grievances could we have? Despite the bloody partition of our sacred geography, Bharat, on vividly religious lines in 1947, Hindus are told that being in the majority is sin enough, which requires constant and unequivocal expressions of contrition in every sphere to reassure some minorities. Majority is sin enough. I think where it's coming from is it used to be the case. It used to be the case where people think Hinduism is very backward, has caste system, and that has created a lot of oppression. And people even started to equate caste to racism, that and comparing that with critical race theory in America. And people are coming up with critical caste theory now. So in a way, Hindus are made to feel being a sinner just because they are Hindus, because they have this background of caste system um, and backward ideas. I think that's where he's coming from. He's saying being a majority or being a Hindu is a sin enough, and that requires a constant expression of contrition or that to be nice to other people because we have that sin, and to prove them that we are good people. This is not only for some minority. This is also for Western countries to show that we are good people. We constantly have this inferiority complex and constantly trying to show that we're good people. We just forget our identity and go to any extent to do that. I think that's what is trying to be captured here. Reassure some minorities. This also happens because we want to make sure the minorities in the country are feeling safe, etc. And we're trying to go to any extent to do that. Again, this is slightly attaches to show the other countries that we are doing our best to keep minority feel safe, etc. As well. It's working in both. It's working in the perspective that I shared, that to show the Western countries that we are doing this, and also we're doing this to show the minorities, reassuring them that we will take care of them in a way. Those who identify themselves with Islamic, yeah, the minority. When we say minority, this is what we're talking about. Those who identify themselves with Islamic invaders. Very good point. That they are minorities, yes, but they themselves identify with Islamic invaders, meaning they think those invaders were net. They made things net positive for India. So that's what minorities identify with. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of them. That point is covered here. Settler colonizers and Christian European colonizers. Yeah, I think exactly what I was talking about earlier. To show Western countries that we are doing such a good job. of their safety and dignity. So reassure some minorities of their safety and dignity. This reassurance, as Dr. Anand Ranganathan rightly points out in this book, takes two forms: the positive through political appeasement of minorities, and the negative through legal yet unconstitutional discrimination of Hindus. As Anand bluntly observes in the book, while political appeasement continues unabated even under the current dispensation, which is BJP, it is the entrenched discrimination against Hindus through the instrumentality of the law that causes greater and long term harm to the survival of Hindus. Right? Accordingly, in this book, as a cultural Hindu, Anand has pressed into service his scientific bent of mind and formidable powers of analysis to identify 8 illustrations of discrimination against Hindus in a Hindu majority country. Discrimination that continues under a supposedly pro Hindu dispensation. Right? So BJP is supposed to be pro Hindu dispensation for some meaning party somehow. But all these issues, they still continue to happen for some reason, uh, which is absurd. Now he goes into a little bit of details what he's talking about, from state control of Hindu religious institutions to arming a predatory and expansionist mindset with the Waqf Act 1995, to denial of the Kashmiri Hindu Holocaust, to perpetual and relentless reformist scrutiny of the Hindu way of life, to state endorsement of continuing Islamic triumphalism through the Places of Worship Act of 1991. Anand has chosen to lend his powerful voice to the ongoing Sanatani movement for reclaiming of Dharmic identity and space. Damn, this is one sentence, and they said so much here. For example, I love this clarity and language that it brings up. Example, this one, these two words. See, there are many religions in the world, and observe that all of those religions are not predatory and expansionist. Very few are. And you know the examples of Christianity and Islam. These two religions are predatory and expansionist. As far as I know, especially Islam, it goes to any extent to be a predatory expansionist or expand itself. And that is a problem. That is a problem. That does not let people or civilization to be peaceful, because it's always trying to expand itself, predatory in nature. As long as its goals are not fulfilled, it's going to go to any extent to continue to be expansionist. And that's a problem. Now, this distinction between religions is absolutely important, because then how do you judge a philosophy? At least at a very surface level, you have to dissect in these terms to see philosophy in a deeper sense. Now, there are a lot of Indian philosophies that are, let's say, there is Hinduism, of course, and then we have Buddhism, we have Jainism, we have Sikhi. Outside of India, we have Taoism, and probably other religions around Japan and China as well. And in Western countries, we have Jewism, Jews. I don't think they are predatory and expansionist. I don't know. Based on what I've heard about them, they don't actually try to convert you. And outside of that, there is Stoicism, right? It's not expansionist. It's not predatory. They won't come and try to convince you or convert you. The goal is not hell or heaven, eternal hell or heaven. It's rather to live a good life, and and for the society to be prosperous, knowledgeable and prosperous, continue to improve, and also addition to the benefits of Stoicism. Hinduism also has, or Buddhism also has, Jainism also has the enlightenment, meaning knowing the nature of reality. It's a very subjective, personal thing that you explore, experiment, and go through, and that doesn't require you to convert other people. So these two words that he's explaining here, giving here, these are actually creating or giving me the clarity that I didn't have before. I used to think religions in Abrahamic and Abrahamic religions and Dharmic religions, but this also gives another way to understand this. Gives it more clarity. So I'm really thankful for that. Right. So these are all the things that are still going on, or certain things that should have happened and haven't happened. And apparently, we're in a Hindu supporting dispensation that is BJP, but yet we have so many issues. Even when we are in the majority, there are still issues, and that's what this book discusses. Okay, in his inimitable style, through these examples, which are dealt with crisply and with substantiation, Anand has demonstrated the central thesis of his exposition that Hindus were and continue to be A-class citizens, regardless of who holds the reins of power, meaning whichever is the government, and that tokenism without long-term policy change is being used to keep the community in good humor. Very interesting. Understandably, to a non-Abrahamic indigenous community, which is an unconscious global minority and a deliberately fragmented national majority, any political option that merely vocalizes its interest without effecting a policy change, despite wielding power, must come across as a breath of fresh air. Damn, man, and the clarity that he's giving here. Just look at these, just a few words, and it's saying so much here. Deliberately fragmented, meaning I mean, right now you can see this book was written a few years ago, but right now you can see the kind of politics that INC is playing. They're asking for a caste census, which will divide society, which will create divisions in society, and also there is this language divisions that is going on in the south, and there was always been from such a long time we have this Dravidianism movements in the south, and they even went on to ask for division of India into entirely separate country, and that's the deliberately fragmented national majority. We are national majority, which is Hindus, and there's so many divisions here. Any political option that merely vocalizes its interest without affecting a political policy change, meaning even without doing anything policy wise, if a political party just even vocalizes or talks about what in Hindu interest, that comes across for us, for Hindus, as a breath of fresh air. I mean, what do I say at this point about this? Right? It's just ridiculous that we are accepting this. However, given the increasing active legal encroachment and simultaneous, both physical and mental, the time has come to call a spade and expect concrete steps to undo the continuing damage to Hindu interests. Damn. This book, which acts as a primer on the specific issues eating into the vitals of the Hindu community, is a must read. It serves as a fantastic starting point for those who wish to delve deeper into each of the issues enumerated by Anand and issues that are either related or of a similar nature. I thank Anand for undertaking this task and for adding to the growing literature of Indic economic renaissance. I wish this book all success, and I hope it reawakens more hearts and minds. Damn, that's a good forward, man. That's really good. So J. Sai Deepak, he's an advocate Supreme Court of Supreme Courts of India. He writes. He's an author as well. I bought his book, but haven't able to read them yet. And just reading this gives me the kind of clarity that he has. You know, one problem I see is he writes pretty big sentences, and you have to just go back and read them to really grasp what's going on. Okay, moving on to prologue. Okay, and I think this is where the book starts. Prologue. Ever since Mahatma Gandhi succeeded in controlling this nation's pulse, we have witnessed minority appeasement on an unprecedented scale, sometimes as virtue signaling, at other times as placation of victimhood. To illustrate but one instance of the extent of which he was committed to realizing his warped vision, while preaching to those affected by the pre-partition Hindu-Muslim violence, he urged Hindus should not harbor anger in their hearts against Muslims, even if the latter wanted to destroy them. Even if the Muslims want to kill us all, we should face death bravely. If they established their rule after killing Hindus, we should be ushering in a new world by sacrificing our lives. I don't know what to say about this. Personally, I respect Gandhi. Why? Because he was an honest man. Say whatever about him, whether the kind of things that he did were right or wrong, he was an honest man, and I have to respect him for that. But at the same time, we should be able to criticize him. And as you see here, we cannot have people leading us and thinking like this. You have to have enough self-respect to draw a line and say, this is where the line is, and you're not allowed to come beyond that. And this is not a line. This is complete. Like, I don't want to call it cowardice. I mean, he's being brave here to say this for many reasons. I mean, how people would perceive him, or also he's not afraid of that. In that sense, he's brave. But the effect of that on Hindu community, man, that I think that's not wise to say things like this, even if it thinks that. But again, that's where the credit is given, which is he is an honest guy. He was an honest guy, and but saying this and what that does to Hindu psyche, Hindu community psyche, you should have really thought about that consequence. This is not a wise thing to say, right? Okay, moving on from there, and this is given as an example of the kind of thing he was kind of a mindset that we had back then, of the victimhood or appeasement. Crazy. Right from the Khilafat movement to the cushioning of the Mufla massacre, I honestly don't know much about them. So that's where I think these references come handy. I will read about them, but honestly, I don't know much about them. To the Rangila Rasul incident, to blatantly discriminatory state and central articles and amendments, this I kind of know. To school curriculums, to Hajj subsidy, to school curriculum. We cannot teach Hindu scriptures in schools, but religious minorities can. To Hajj subsidy, spending government money, taxpayers' money on Hajj subsidies, which is a religious trip to, I don't know, to what was the Mecca, I guess, to ignoring the prohibition of Child Marriage Act, to Shah Banu, to the declaration, these I know, to the declaration by a sitting prime minister that minorities have the first right to resources. Crazy. But again, I need to be honest here. I don't know who or when it was said, but I've heard this going on, and I must do my due diligence to check that out and see how these things actually happened. So I'll leave this at the moment. Every single time the minority has been appeased, it has only emboldened the leaders and political fronts for further extortion and blackmail. This has come at an enormous cost, not only for their own community, but also for the Hindus. The question, though, is not of appeasement. Oh, what does he mean? The question, though, is not of appeasement. Yes, the appeasement is discriminatory. Of course it is. But worse than appeasement is the active discrimination again. Oh, I see. So he's kind of, I think he's okay with the appeasement. Fine, do it. But the main problem that he has seems to be the active discrimination against the community not being appeased, meaning the Hindu majority. You're not being appeased, and that's okay. But why the fuck would you actively discriminate us? Yeah. Worse than appeasement of one community is apartheid against other communities. Yep. Truth be told, appeasement may rankle, but Indians have learned to accept it, even take it in their stride, for they realize the reasons for appeasement are political. I would say that shouldn't be the case, but I guess what he's trying to, but I guess I understand his point though. It's okay if you want to win politics and you want to appease. If you want to win elections and you want to appease for that reason, okay, we understand that. That's the reality, unfortunately, of the electoral battle that happens. But why actively discriminate the majority? And I think that's a very valid point. But Indians have learned to accept it, even take it in their stride, for they realize the reasons for appeasement in politics, and those reasons are modification of vote banks to win elections. Yes, every political party, cutting across ideologies and religious affiliations or labels, indulges in appeasement. So while our Muslim population is 14.2%, I don't know if this is old data. I think it's old data because right now the population of Muslims is about 18-20%. I'm not sure. Let's go with the figures that is given here. So while our Muslim population is 14.2%, in the last 8 years, as many as 31.3% of homes under the Awas Yojana 33% of funds under the Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana and 36% of loans under the Mudra Yojana have gone to the Muslims. I don't think this is appeasement. Okay, Muslims were um, Muslims were happen to take these benefits, but I don't think this is particularly appeasement. The BJP government has a Pradhan Mantri Shadi Shagun scheme exclusively for Muslim girls to complete their graduation before marriage. This is this is two things. One is it is appeasement, but at the same time, there is this. I think I kind of understand this. I kind of understand where BJP is coming from. I don't think this is a bad thing. Where this is coming from is, see, I don't want to talk about Muslim as people. I want to talk about Islam as an ideology. So I want to keep that distinction. The why this is required or why they might be doing my thoughts on this is Islam has, as an ideology or as a religion, has allowed little girls to be married because this comes from the Prophet Muhammad himself. He married a 6-year-old girl. And Muhammad is considered as a person that needs to be emulated or followed. He's a perfect man in the Muslim community in Islamic ideology. So people that are following it, they don't mind marrying little girls. So what government is trying to encourage here is for girls to grow up, not get married, and maybe not even that. Even if they get married, at least the government is trying to get girls to. Oh, before marriage, right? Yeah, this is significant, right? That was the point I was trying to make. Before marriage, so they should grow up, complete their graduation before marriage. For them, they will get 51,000, no questions asked. That's what they're trying to improve here or optimize, which is to not get little girls get married, and which is actually illegal in India, by the way. Marrying little girls is illegal, but Muslims can do that because they have different laws for that in India, and that's part of appeasement. And so yeah, the government is trying to encourage girls to graduate before marriage and to be also be educated because that also seems to be not allowed in conservative Muslim circles. So I think that's what government is trying to do, and I don't think that's a appeasement, or rather, they're trying to improve society, a Muslim society, in this way. They're giving incentive to improve housing, skilling, scholarships, sarkari jobs, salaries to Maulvis, salaries to Maulvi. Man, why the fuck would you do that? They already have enough donations. They are capable of running their own institutions, and the government pays for Maulvis. This is crazy. Why would you do it as a secular nation? You call yourself secular and you do shit like this. There is appeasement and preferential treatment meted out to minorities by every political party, including BJP. Yeah. The BJP recently even offered Christian senior citizens a free trip to Jerusalem if they voted for it. This is crazy, man. I don't know about this, but if it is true, that's crazy. I mean, wow. Fact is, Ram Raja and Rome Raja are interchangeable depending upon which way the wind is blowing. Damn, that's a nice jab. Okay. No, the issue, I repeat, is not appeasement. He's repeating it. The issue is not appeasement. I'm okay with doing that. He's saying that I'm okay with you appeasing minorities if you want to win elections. Fine, do it. The issue is of apartheid. The issue is of state-sponsored, state-sanctioned discrimination against a particular community. And that is the issue. And that community is a majority community, the Hindus. Yep. This war concerns not appeasement, but apartheid. It concerns not dignity. It concerns not dignity, but discrimination. I mean, he's going out and saying, if you don't give us dignity, okay, fine, but at least don't discriminate. That's what he's saying. But discrimination that is now so entrenched in our constitution, okay, our policies, our legal framework, our society, and our psyche, that it makes Hindus not just second-class citizens, but rather eighth-class citizens. That's a huge claim and allegation on Indian state itself. that this is happening in the so-called Hindu Rashtra is profoundly ironical. Yeah, some people keep saying this is already Hindu Rashtra, and again, it's kind of weird. Like, for example, the first issue that he will talk about, which we saw in the contents index list, is control of Hindu temples. Now, if the state has control of Hindu temples, which is a religious organization or religious place, or it's of a religious significance, then it has to be Hindu Rashtra. Other than that, how do you explain a secular state to have control over a religious institution? It's ridiculous. It has to be. We have to call it Hindu Rashtra, but then he says we have other problems. And even if we call that Hindu Rashtra, it's a shame that Hindus have so much of issue, and it's an apartheid. Okay, so-called Hindu Rashtra is profoundly ironic. It is ironical. That's what I was trying to express. Here, then, are 8 reasons why Hindus are 8th-class citizens in their own country. Damn. And that's why we come to the first chapter: state control of Hindu temples. So, so like we saw in the content or index, there are 8 chapters, and each one of those chapters is 8 reasons. So each one of those chapters deal with one reason. All right, so here is the first reason, and why he thinks Hindus are living in why Hindus in Hindu Rashtra are 8th-class citizens and it's an apartheid, and this is the first reason: state control of Hindu temples. I'll cover this in the next video because I am feeling tired right now. Yeah, see you in the next video.